With 286 points still on the table across the final 2 rounds, the 2013 Kumho Series is a long way from done. While the field this weekend is slightly smaller than usual, the standard at the front remains high. Shay Davies, ex-FPR Falcon, won the last round here last year in the hands of Josh Hunter, and given he leads the points without winning a round, he'd like history to repeat this weekend.
Yeah, it's just one of those things really. We're trying as hard as we can, and we're just up against it a little bit with the packages that are around us, and I think we're doing a good job. You know, we're getting closer and closer, so yeah, we'll just see what happens. I made a bit of a boo-boo this weekend, which is hurting me, but yeah, it's all right. I think we've got a good buffer. We're the closest people around us. We're still managing to beat, so yeah, it's good. I mean, obviously the goal is to win every race we can and around, and that's still the #1 goal, and we'll see what we can do. There's still this and one more to go.
Tony Evangelou was lucky to escape Queensland with minor damage to his Cat Falcon after being collected by Terry Waihoon. He has V8 Supercars Championship and Development Series experience at the island to call upon this weekend, but has he counted himself out of the title battle?
Shay's got about 100 points on us after Queensland. We had a bad round up there, but anyone can have a DNF or, you know, a bad round. So it's never done till we get to Sandown. We qualified about 10th, I think, and then Terry, who was running second championship, got hit down in turn 4 of Queensland. Racing incident, but put us out of that race, and then race 2 we got back up there, and unfortunately we had a mechanical clutch failure in the last race up there.
Steve Briffa has been a regular top 10 runner in this, his rookie Kumho season. He's 7th in the points in his ex-Paul Morris Commodore, but feels like he's starting to get the hang of his 2008 Fujitsu Series winning mount.
We're slowly getting the hang of it. The whole team is slowly learning. I'm learning how to drive them. It's been my first year in this series. My full team are from production car background, so we're still learning how to run a supercar at the moment, yeah. We've had a couple of eureka moments, I can tell you. Predominantly probably at Malala in the rain. We had some not so good wets, and it was like driving around on grease. The other one was probably here today. We changed a few settings with our tyre pressures and whatnot, and the boys said, go out and have a go and see if that change makes it any better. And I went down into turn 1 at what I was doing yesterday, at 280 plus, and arrived into the corner, touched the brake, and nearly put it into the infield. It wouldn't have been pretty once you hit the grass here today. It's been raining for a long time, so.
Some familiar faces return to the series this weekend too. Paul Panisi is back in his ex-Lee Holdsworth Commodore, while Michael Hector returns from the Dunlop Series to race in the category he called home for the last few seasons. Matt Palmer's ex-Brad Jones Falcon is back on the grid with 16 entries for the penultimate round of 2013. So the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit and the penultimate round of the Kumho Tyres Australian V8 Touring Car Series. And what a series it's been so far. This is a critical round as well when it comes to the championship perspective, and it will go down to the wire at Sandown in November. Here are the points coming into the round. It's a comfortable but not quite safe lead for Shay Davies, who leads Terry Waihoon and Tony Evangelou, a couple of former champions, with Matt Hansen 4th and Nathan Assailant, the young Queenslander, rounding out the top 5. Race 1 was held on Saturday. The biggest talking point of all was the championship leader, Shay Davies, stalled on the line, had a couple of goes at trying to get the car running, and ended up having to work his way through the field. Race 2 now, and he started from the second row of the grid, but that's where all the controversy happened. Tony Evangelou went backwards and lost plenty of ground, but 5-second penalties for both Matthew White and Shay Davies for start line infringements, and that meant that they would be forced back down through the field. Davies diced with Ryan Simpson. He got up the inside into the final corner. Matty Palmer and Peter Rullo had a good battle of the forwards down at Honda and raced competitively the bottom half of the top 10 race to the Kumho V8. Evangelou was on the comeback trail and had a fantastic battle with Steve Briffa for much of this race. It's a great fight between Holden and Ford. Then suspension dramas for Nathan Assailant. Turn 1, and it fired the car off the road at 200 plus and out into the undergrowth between the first corner and the southern loop. And while Matt White took the checkered flag first, the penalties for he and Davies meant that Ryan Simpson would take the second race victory. And Aaron Noonan joins me in commentary. Noon's race 3, so important now for Shay Davies in his championship.
On board with Steve Briffa as we get set for this Final race at Phillip Island in the Kumho Series. Here's the grid, and it's the combined points from the first two races, Rich. 40 points for the win in race 1 and 2, 60 for the win in this final. Ryan Simpson on the front row with Matty White, Shay Davies, Tony Evangelou, Terry Waihoon, Matt Hansen, Steve Briffa, Matt Palmer, Peter Rullo, and Paul Panisi, the former saloon car racer in the ex-Paul Morris Bam Bam chassis, lines up 10th on the grid. 15 cars on the grid. Nathan Assailant will not take the start. Hub failure in race 2 has put him out for the weekend. We get ready for the decider. Matthew White initially went, but now he goes nowhere. Ryan Simpson makes the jump. Matthew White is still there, so for the second time this weekend, stalled cars on the grid. Everyone gets through. Steve Briffa's getting through. He's up to position 4 as we swing into turn 1 for this first time through. Longer race, 12 laps, Richard Crowe.
And for the second time this weekend, a terrible start for Tony Evangelou. Lost ground, and he's got to make up time in this race like he did in race 2. They're side by side through turn 2. Matt Charter going around the outside.
New sponsorship for that team this weekend. Manlaw Premium Barbecue Tools are on board the 00 ex-Rodney Forbes Falcon, but down to Honda corner. Simpson defending the line. Davies, Waihoon, Briffa, Hansen, Evangelou. Palmer's made a great jump. Paul Panisi has as well. He's right among it. Davies is going on with it. He has looked more competitive in race 2 and the early stages of race 3 in comparison to Ryan Simpson. Oh, a little bit wide on the exit of Siberia. Got a little bit of a slide going on there, but he's zeroing in here, and really interesting to know, 12 laps. It's a longer race distance, so these guys need to have looked after the rubber. They don't have sets and sets of them to get them through a weekend. They need to be a little bit frugal with the way that they look after them.
And on the exit of turn 2, Matthew White was 15th and last, so watch for the MW Motorsport driver coming through down the inside. Tony Evangelou gets some ground and gets past Matt Hansen in that ex-HRT Commodore. Palmer in the fight too. He's made a good start and got plenty of ground. So there'll be guys coming through the field here. Tony Evangelou, we heard from him. He's going to be working his way through the field, trying to get himself in the championship fight with these two guys, Terry Waihoon and Shay Davies, going into the final round at Sandown in November. He goes Waihoon, just pulling out of the tote at 285 k's as they run down to the very fast turn 1. And his car looks a little bit loose, but he's holding on. Waihoon is third, Davies is second, and Ryan Simpson leads the way at the end of the first lap.
And the colours of that Waihoon car give away its heritage. Ex-Stone Brothers Falcon, James Courtney, Carmichael Hector. He's bogged, he's in the wet grass, and he will not get out of there. That is what we're being told down at MG Corner. So I don't think they'll bring out the safety car for that one. It's far enough away from the track racing surface, but yellow flags will be on display for that run over the top of Lukey Heights. So they just need to file that away in their memory bank. But Davies looks really, really racy here. He's got pace to go with Ryan Simpson, so he's going to go with him.
Had an interrupted Porsche Carrera Cup campaign. He's doing double duty this year, but they've got their program back on track for the second half of the year. So he's racing in 2 very high-level categories in 2 different cars. That's where that Michael Hector car is. That is a long way up the road. Down the inside, Davies at MG and takes the lead. Good move.
Oh, well, there's a problem, Rich. There'll be a yellow flag out because of Hector being off the road. So I wouldn't mind betting that sun. Have a look at the way it's coming in through that windscreen. Wouldn't mind betting that he's not seen that flag. His crew needs to get on the radio and tell him to give that spot back. Now, having said that, that's very much a V8 supercar rule in terms of redressing a situation. That's not in the rule book under what we race under in the NCRs here in the Kumho Series. Now, he's let Ryan Simpson go through. He's done the right thing. He's picked up no advantage, but how they view that in race control will be really interesting.
Well, that's up for smarter people than us to ponder over the course of the race meeting and the rest of this third and final race in the Kumho V8s. And Davies has to do the job all over again, and it might be a little bit deflating, that, because he would have had the satisfaction of pulling off an excellent move, but then you've got to realise, well, Simpson didn't defend for a reason. He would have seen that yellow flag and knew he didn't need to fight. Down the inside, Evangelou covering his line. So poor old Tony is in the thick of the fight here. He's attacking, he's defending, he's trying to hold his own position. He's got it all going on at the moment, but doing a good job. Briffa on the defensive. And race control will have a look at that. There's only a certain amount of blocking, a certain amount of driving down the inside of the road that they'll take. But this is a good, clean fight so far. From my perspective, this is just hard V8 touring car racing.
Yeah, he hasn't gone too far yet. He hasn't gone over the boundary line, Briffa. He has been a little bit defensive, but certainly nothing that I would have seen so far that's been out of control. But he is wide over the top there. He's middle of the road, so he knows he's a little bit vulnerable to Evangelou. So at the end of the day, he's racing. This is a race. This is not a case of letting the next fellow past and saying, no, you are faster man than me, go on through. This is get into it, get on. So anyone who thinks that this is a demo category, the Kumho Series, mistake. These guys are just as competitive as anyone in the development category or the V8 Supercars Championship. But Briffa has got to put up with Evangelou. He'll now have to put up with Matthew White because he's out of the tow, trying to get this move done down to turn 1.
This is wild stuff around the outside. Matt White goes and gets Evangelou, and he'll attack Briffa now. Anyone who says this category isn't competitive, I'm going to go back to Sydney Motorsport Park and show them the final race there. One of the best races ever.
No, you only need to show the last lap.
Correct. So great performance, Matt White. He's had a hooked up race car. He's had to do it from behind after stalling on the front row, and now he's working his way through the field, and this guy, his next target. So 1-4 attacks the Commodore. Now it changes. It's a white one instead of the yellow and black.
Well, now Briffa is getting defensive. He ran up the inside on the run to Honda Corner through Stoner Corner, and now he's to the side of Matthew White, who's trying to race him down to Siberia. He's going for the old over and under move here is Matthew White. He's trying to get exit drive here and drag race Briffa up towards the hay shed. Look for him. There he is. He did exactly what I thought he was trying to do. Briffa's equal to the task. Now he lifts. Smart stuff, because you can't go too wide through the hay shed. So Matthew White continues this bike back trail, and he's working his way towards the front, but I don't think he's got enough laps up his sleeve to get to the likes of Simpson and Davies. Terry Wahoon, though, that might be an option.
Evangelou continues his attack on Steve Briffa. So Briffa's been inundated with forward power behind him in this race, and he's had to deal with both of them at some stage. Good run out of MG for Tony Evangelou. And again, just not quite on that outright money. The pace we've seen from Evangelou in the past hasn't quite translated here. I think this new surface has just caught a couple of people out at Phillip Island, and you can hit a window in your setup bang on, or you can miss it by 0.5%. But on this new surface, you miss it by 0.5%, you drop 0.5 second a lap. So down the inside goes Evangelou through turn 1 to 280 km/h entry there. One of the fastest corners in Australian motorsport, but he backs out. This has been a good defensive drive from Steve Briffa. He's got the elbows out, he's raced hard, and he continues to fend off the advances of the Cat forward.
Terry Wahoon looking solid at the moment. Third spot, Lubrimax Falcon, and this is a really good fight. We say it in so many of the Kumho races, but it's hard to know where to look. Briffa, again, is a little bit wide, but that gives him the inside run down to Siberia. But Evangelou has got, well, there's still a little bit of overlap there, but he gets it done around the outside. Really nice move.
And that's where this new surface is really paying off this weekend, Noons, because there is grip off the line, because there isn't a definitive rubbered up line, and these tyres aren't producing a huge amount of marbles either, so you can run a second high line. It's like a speedway, get up on the cushion, as it were, at Siberia. And that's a great drive round the outside and gets that job done. It's taken him 3/4 of the race, but he's finally got the job done.
We should say too, Kumho have done a lot of work on their tyres over the course of the last couple of years in this series, because this track is probably the best test that we have of the 6 rounds. Phillip Island, long, sweeping, loaded, flowing, constant radius corners. They work the tyre as hard as anywhere that you'll find. It's the best proving ground that you can get in up and down pit lane. Everyone's been happy with what they've had in terms of tyres this weekend as we set off now on this final lap. And there's a record on the line for Ryan Simpson, not just the round win, but the record for the most consecutive race wins. He's looking odds on at the moment.
Matt White closes in on Terry Wahoon, and White so much quicker through the mid-corner at that long, challenging southern loop. So trying to get himself onto the podium, but he's got to go against one of the most experienced guys in the business in Terry Wahoon, and Terry will not make it easy. Here's Simpson. This has been a great weekend for Ryan, despite the dramas in the second race this weekend. But he's worked his way forward, and he leads the way, and he will win this race. But Shay Davies, let's look forward to Sandown in the end of November, Noons. This has been an outstanding weekend for this guy, because he's really consolidated himself at the top of the championship standings.
He'll be on the podium for the weekend, Rich, but he will be in an increased series points lead with 3 races and 1 round to go at Sandown in Melbourne in November. He's on target. He's done a really solid job. He's given Simpson a run for his money today in races 2 and 3. He won't quite get the job done, but he's got to remind himself of the bigger picture. But for Ryan Simpson, clean sweep, pole, race 1, race 2, race 3, new lap record and 7 in a row. He cleans them up at Phillip Island.
It's a record-breaking weekend for the Sydney side, and this fight for third will go down to the wire. Matt White with a great run out of MG, but Waihoon, the experience, the cunning from this guy will hold him out. And Waihoon, the Lubramax Falcon, gets to the line. Matt White from the rear of the field to 4th. Great drive in front of Evangelo. Steve Briffa 6th, probably the drive of the season for him, just in front of Matt Hansen. Matty Palmer 8th, Matt Charter 9th. Great job. The AU inside the top 10 ahead of Peter Rillo.
I believe it's 7 race wins consecutive in a row, so yeah, we've eclipsed some record there and got lap record this weekend, so it's been good.
Yeah, we keep getting little roadblocks that just pop up in our way, you know, a really tough call in race 2 on the race start, and just little things that keep getting in our way make it a bit harder, but I think the pace is there. We certainly kept Ryan honest in race 3, so yeah, bring on Sandown, we'll see what happens.
A philosophical Shay Davies on the podium here at Phillip Island, but he should be pretty happy because we've 1 round to go in the Kumho V8 Touring Car Series. He's got a very handy lead over Terry Waihoon. Evangelo sits 3rd, and it looks like a great battle for 2nd in the championship at the finale. And look at Ryan Simpson. He's 4th and can finish 2nd still in the Kumho V8 Series this year. Down the inside, Davies at MG, one of the fastest corners in Australian motorsport.
Clean sweep, pole, race 1, race 2, race 3, new lap record and 7 in a row. He cleans them up at Phillip Island.